saying, "Let's go Zimbabwe." Always pleasing to see the Aussies get stuffed.
Yeah, good. Look, I was just reading the ICC manual of how to play spin because I just want to send it to a couple of my Australian friends because, as discussed, Australia batsmen can't play spin. Kel surprise, I say. Yeah, great to see that the Aussies completely stuffed by Zimbabwe this morning in the 5:30 game from the Cricket World Cup. But I'm sure we'll get on to that. All good, bar that.
Yeah, it's a pleasing start to the morning. Let's touch briefly. I mean, this is obviously an other sports podcast, but I feel like we have to talk a little bit about Arsenal. Last night they drew 1-1 with Brentford. In terms of title race, Arsenal are now out to 1.44 as we speak. Pretty underwhelming performance last night. I thought Brentford were really good, to be fair to them, and they gave Arsenal an awful lot of hassle. There's something vaguely amusing, not vaguely amusing, incredibly amusing, seeing the Arsenal players cry and moan about all the tactics Brentford were employing at set pieces, throw-ins, corners. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, it was the third game this season. Arsenal's XG was under one. The other two games were against the champions Liverpool. They got away with it last night. Arsenal big time. If Thiago had his shooting boots on, they would have lost that game. Just one thing on Thiago, he's just announced he has signed a new contract extension at Brentford. I don't see how long it is for. I 100% guarantee that it's got a release clause in it at some point. These things normally happen with a player like him. But yeah, going back to the game, Brentford were impressive last night. Really got stuck into Arsenal. Arsenal were really poor first half. Obviously scored, went ahead, but that didn't deter Brentford at all. Came back and got the equaliser fully deserved. And then even at the end, I know Martinelli has that great chance, and Declan Rice has a good chance as well. But yeah, 1-1, not the end of the world, but there is a lot of noise now that they were suddenly 9 points clear, and now they're only 4 points clear. And one takeaway, Ebrechieze, one of the worst signings of the summer, looks
I just,
completely lost in that formation.
I just don't think he's even been given a chance. I mean, we know how good he was at Palace last year, and it's often the problem when you see these players come from a team where they're the superstar. So I think of people like Grealish. You know, you're the superstar. And it's in some respects, it's impressive how quickly Semenyo's fitted in at City because he's someone similar as well. But you're a superstar player. You come into a team, completely different formation, completely different culture, and Eze isn't being given a chance to succeed at Arsenal at the moment. And I mean, Arsenal, for all their success in terms of where they find themselves in at the moment, maybe not in terms of actual trophies, they don't have a brilliant record in the transfer market.
No, you looked at their team last night as well, that Gyökeres was just anonymous. His first touch is absolute garbage at that level. It really is. And yeah, the noise is coming out, and we know that Arsenal got past history in bottling it. So let's see. They're lucky,
They're
as you said yesterday, that they got Wigan in the FA Cup on Sunday, and then they're away at Wolves on Wednesday night. That game is now taking on a bigger significance now.
so it's only a subtle thing, but I was dropping one of the kids off at school this morning, and I heard on the radio them talk about Arsenal's leads being cut from 6 points to 6 points to 4 points. When the reality is, on the back of yesterday, the lead's actually gone from 3 points to 4 points. But it's interesting how the media spins it as it being a really negative sort of connotations to it. And I think you're right. It is going to build up and build up and build up. And the Arsenal fan base are not comfortable in this situation. They are not helping.
That, that game on the weekend of the 18th to 19th of April away at Man City, as I said on Monday, I think I said, if Man City can get to that game, still only 3 to 4 points behind, and there's 5 games left after that game, anything could happen. This title race is on, and then we know that one club can win it, and one club has not got the history of doing it at the moment. So
I
let's
look
see.
at that final weekend, James, when Villa have already secured third place, put the feet up, let City steamroll them.
Resting for the Europa League final as well, probably.
Exactly. So obviously there was a bit of other football yesterday. I know you were following the Atletico Madrid Barcelona game, Copa del Rey semi-final at Madrid. Bit of a thumping.
4-0, one of the most comical first goals, the own goal by Eric Garcia. Juan Garcia, the Barcelona keeper, just inexplicably lets the ball go underneath his legs. 1-0. Griezmann makes it 2. Lookman, the ex-Everton player and not Bologna, Atalanta player, he's gone to Atletico Madrid. He
They
scored.
signed him in this window,
Yeah.
didn't they?
And Julian Alvarez. So 4-0 at half time. Thank you very much. First leg. And then 52nd minute, Barcelona score a perfectly good goal in my eyes. It takes over 8 minutes for the goal to be disallowed. 8 minutes. The players were just warming up, laughing. It was an absolute shocker, really. 8 minutes. Anyway, ends up 4-0. Barcelona have a player sent off, Eric Garcia, for denying a goal scoring opportunity on VAR as well. Yeah, so comical, and 4-0 the second leg's next week.
So one other thing, just quickly, is it doesn't look like there's much movement from a Tottenham perspective in terms of new manager. It looks increasingly like Pereira will be next Forest manager. In terms of Tottenham, I'm slightly surprised in that they don't have anything in place, or there's nothing. The markets wouldn't suggest there's anything imminent, which makes me just question the leadership at Spurs. I don't know why they bothered getting rid of Frank if they didn't have someone lined up already or knew who was out there. I think they would have been potentially looking to pull the trigger a couple of weeks ago during that Man City game. So 2-0 down at half time. If they'd gone and lost that game 4-5-0, could have seen it happen quicker. Didn't, obviously, but there must be planning there for this type of contingencies, but it doesn't seem evident.
Yeah, the players aren't back into training until Monday, so got to make a decision in the next 48, 72 hours. Anyway, but yeah, just some other housekeeping in football. Raheem Sterling's gone to Feyenoord until the end of the season, and in a championship, Michael O'Neill, the Northern Ireland coach, he is going to do a job share with Blackburn till the end of the season, and then they'll make a decision at the end of the season what happens there. So Mike O'Neill back in the championship.
I guess the thing about Blackburn is they're in the relegation spots. They're in a proper relegation battle. I guess a lot depends on whether they stay up and what happens there. Okay, let's talk other sports, James. Golf. We've had Live Golf out in Adelaide. Obviously, second round. Shaping up to be a great leaderboard, actually. So Rahm, 9 under, second round. Moved on to -13. Ben Campbell, who is an Aussie, he's at -12. And then we've got Bryson at -11. Anthony Kim at -10. So that's about as interesting a leaderboard as you can almost get, I think, in Live. There was quite a funny clip. I don't know if you saw it from the first round, James. Bryson topping his tee shot. Something which I'm sure we've all done many a time. You more than some, James. But he then fired a long wood into the green, made birdie. It was just a different game.
Yeah, quite entertaining. And the way he took it as well was brilliant. And to make birdie on the par 5 10th, yeah, it was hilarious. Round 1, yeah. Nice to see that Liv are making the courses nice and easy, though. Nice and hard. Par makes par, but yeah.
They're just the best golfers in the world, James.
Just it does annoy me when they just shoot in -9. It just becomes a putting competition kind of thing. It's just there's no real. There is skill obviously involved in it,
well,
but
the counter to that, James, is if you look at 2 out of the top 3 players, Rahm and Bryson, right?
Yeah.
Not renowned for their putting prowess per se, right? Which wouldn't suggest. I mean, I think you're underestimating the importance of things like irons.
Yeah, it's just I get sick and tired of watching -25 win golf tournaments.
No, I don't disagree with that, but I think it's always telling when you what you essentially want is a golf course that sorts the wheat from the chaff. So you want the best players to come to the forefront, and I think you know you can't complain too much when you have potentially a weekend showdown between Rahm and Bryson. So in America, we got the AT&T Pro Am. It's two courses this week: Spyglass and Pebble. Obviously, it had some pretty horrendous weather in the practice rounds. Some quite good clips on social media in terms of shots being affected by the wind. All a little bit, all fun and games. But it'd be interesting to see how that plays out wind-wise. In terms of that first round, Hisatsuni leads at 10 under. He obviously did well last week as well. We've got Burns at -9, Keegan at -8. In terms of some of the other names, it was good to see Spieth -6. He's obviously won this competition. He's won this tournament before. Tommy Fleetwood's -5, Rory -4. Scheffler's back at level par. The other player to obviously keep an eye on is Gotterup, who won last week. He's at -8 at the moment. He started his round with 6 birdies, James.
Helps.
What was interesting about that is that people like Spieth, did that on Spyglass rather than Pebble. A lot of the low scores were obviously on Pebble. It's just that bit easier. What you do find in that tournament is that when the wind blows, Pebble plays harder because it's more exposed. So what you find at Spyglass is it has about 3 holes that are open to the elements. It's quite a strange golf course. In the first 3 or 4 holes are lengthy before it heads back into the trees, whereas Pebble's completely exposed. So if it is strong winds, Pebble always plays that bit tougher than Spyglass does. So it's very weather related.
Yeah, I remember watching a tournament where Webb Simpson won years ago when it was blowing an absolute gale on the final day, and he shot level par and everyone else shot. Was it Webb Simpson? I think it was. Am I correct in saying? Might not have been Webb Simpson, but one of the players shot. I think it was on a Monday as well. Shot like level par, and everyone else was shooting 6 or 7 over kind of at Pebble. It was blowing like 40, 50 miles an hour kind of thing.
I remember that tournament. I can't remember who it was.
But yeah, I mean, I saw that Rory's interview on Wednesday night was interesting. So he's gone back to his blades after using cavity irons in the Middle East, and he said he was playing around with it, but he said he's gone back to blades. And he made 2 interesting points. He said that they were talking obviously about the Players' Championship, which is coming up in March. They're still banging on the idea of making that the 5th major, and quite rightly he batted that away and said no, keep it as a Players' standalone tournament, the TPC Sawgrass that everyone knows, the par 3 17th, that they call an island green. That's actually not an island green, obviously, but anyway. And then he was saying, which I do agree with him, the PJ has to be moved back to August. Having it in May is an absolute shambles. No one cares about it. It's just pointless tournament. Or move the PGA to another continent, somewhere else outside America, whether to move it to China or Japan or somewhere like that, Australia even. Go and play down in Royal Melbourne or somewhere like that. Make it more of a fun tournament.
It is a shame because sort of traditionally you always had Masters, you had the US Open in June, you had the Open in July, and you'd have the USPGA in August. And what you used to find as well is that just the course conditions were better just that much better in August than they can be in May. The courses play that bit firmer, a bit faster, and I think it's what people want to see. They want to see proper tests of these players. So it'd be interesting to see what comes of that.
I'm just looking if Webb Simpson did win the AT&T. Can't remember he did, but anyway, it was a sound. If you remember, I can't remember if it was Webb. Anyway, moving on. Anyway, it's a fun course.
Let's talk. So it'd be interesting to watched that tournament over the weekend. Let's talk rugby, Six Nations. So we've got Ireland, Italy, Scotland, England, Wales, France. Talk us through it, James.
Yeah, so the first game tomorrow is Ireland, Italy. Ireland have made 6 changes for the game in Dublin tomorrow at 2:10 UK time. They've kept Sam Prendergast at 10. They've brought in Craig Casey, the scrum half, the Munster scrum half, to replace Jameson Gibson Park. He's on the bench. Correct decision. Gibson Park was poor against France. He's back. They've changed the back row. Caden Doris is at 7, Jack Conan's at 8. And they've dropped Stockdale, James Lowe's back in the side. They've brought some beef back into the team. James Ryan's back in the second row with McCarthy. They need to win, Ireland. They look really old against France. They need to win, obviously, and they need to put performance up. Because otherwise Andy Farrell will be on a whole world of pressure there. And there's noise, obviously, that they've been bad, which they have been. Italy will fancy their chances to try and cause an upset. They played well against Scotland last weekend. So first 20 minutes of that game, if Italy get on top, how much of the nerves from Ireland? Do you expect Ireland to win by 15, 20 points? They are the better side, but who knows? It's just Italy are full of confidence, so let's see. And then England travel up to Murrayfield tomorrow afternoon to play Scotland at 4:40 UK time. England made 2 changes. Atoje's back, and Karen Dickey is the starting hooker. Finn Smith on the bench ahead of Marcus Smith. Pretty settled team by England. Scotland have made 4 changes. Still no Darcy Graham. Still no Blair Kinghorn. Still Adam Hastings on the bench when you've got a 5-3 split, when he's literally can only play 10 and your best player, Finn Russell, is the 10. I don't quite understand that bench at all. They've changed their props as well, Scotland. England, it's a tough place to go. They got beaten there 2 years ago, obviously. No Edinburgh players. I'd be disappointed if England don't go there and stamp their authority and win that game. Hopefully they don't give away any stupid penalties. They haven't recently in the last 18 months. They've won 12 in a row, England. It's time to go to Scotland as an England fan, put on a performance and win by 15, 20 points. Won't be easy. Conditions will be bad. We know it's cold, wet, horrible up there. The noise, underlights, the bagpipes, etc. But it's time for Atoje and co to stamp their authority and go, yeah, we can possibly get to the last game of Six Nations against France in March, the Grand Slam decider. For Scotland, if they lose badly, Gregor Townsend job is under threat, big time. He's obviously.
But would they make changes before the World Cup to him? Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. If they have a shocking Six Nations, he's job sharing with Newcastle Red Bulls as an advisor. Absolute nonsense. If you're the international coach, your sole focus has to be on the international side. Why are you taking a job share? I know it's only 3 or 4 days a month at Newcastle or Red Bull. However, your main focus and your salary is for the Scottish national team. It's not some Mickey Mouse job this is. This is international rugby at the highest level. If Scotland lose heavily, and I'm talking 15, 20 points, I can see them making a change. I know they've got to play. There's another week next week when Scotland are away in Wales, but I mean, they wouldn't fancy. I mean, it's not an easy. It is an easier game, but I can see them making a change. Maybe not in the week, but certainly in that fallow week. And then on Sunday, you've got Wales against France in Cardiff, where they are really struggling to sell tickets. At about whole 72,000 a Millennium. There's 18,000 tickets unsold at Plant at the moment. They're handing out free tickets to stewards and families.
If they shut the roof, can no one see that?
Can no one see that? I'd imagine roof would see. So Wales have made 4 changes. Joe Hawkins starts in the centres. They've changed their props as well. France have made a couple of changes. They've got a new centre combination, a new kid making his debut as well. But Jalabert, Dupont are playing. France win that by 30, 40 points. They're way too good than Wales. Wales are downright awful. We know that. And hopefully, for the sake of the tournament, you do want England and France
You want it all
to
to
come
come
to
to
the
that
last
final.
day on the 14th of March, 8 o'clock, Stade de France, Six Nations, and Grand Slam decider. For the good of the tournament and for the worldwide people watching, it would be a brilliant atmosphere.
I always find this England, going back to England just quickly, I do find England Scotland fixture interesting. As someone who has grown up with a Scottish father and English mother, it was always, I think my father was probably pretty disappointed when I'd always support England in these particular games. But, having grown up in England, it's hardly a surprise.
Yeah, yeah. So 2 games tomorrow, 1 on Sunday.
Talk to me rugby league, James, because obviously Super League started last night and there was a monumental shock, as what I would term an absolute gubbing on Betfair last night. Very short price, 1.02, I believe, on Hull Kingston Rovers.
Yeah, the reigning defending Super League champions, Challenge Cup winners, League Shield winners, 3 titles last year. Hull get beaten by York Knights, who are making their reappearance in the Super League, or their debut match in the Super League. 7 players from York have never played in the Super League. They ran out victors 19-18 with a drop goal in the last 5 minutes. Brilliant for the sport, for the competition. It's absolutely brilliant. Huge upset for Hull KR. That's a shocker. Mikey Lewis, standoff number 7, he got sin bin for a stupid incident. He now could be banned for the World Cup Championship next week against Brisbane Broncos at home in Hull. And yeah, great for the sport, great for the Super League to kick off that. So this weekend you've got more fixtures. You've got Catalans are at home to Huddersfield tonight. Warrington play St Helens in a big local derby tonight, 8 o'clock UK time. Lee versus Leeds. And on Saturday, you've got Hull versus Bradford. Bradford are back in the Super League after all these years, been given a licence. Great to see Bradford back in their history. Is brilliant. Talking of Bradford's history, they've held the biggest record attendance, 106,000 in 1954. It's quite remarkable, that history behind that club, and it's great to see them back in the Super League. Wakefield Trinity play Toulouse Olympique 13. They play tomorrow night, Saturday, 8 o'clock. And there's one game on Sunday at the Jungle. It's Castle Tigers versus Wigan Warriors. So yes, the Super League is back. I think Luke's dropped off there. He'll be coming back. He's got internet problems again. So we'll quickly move on to cricket, which we briefly talked about at the start of the podcast there. A massive upset this morning in the cricket, where Zimbabwe have beaten Australia. So Zimbabwe batted first and just bring it up here. Zimbabwe got 169 for 2 after their 20 overs, and Australia were bowled out for 146 in the 20th over. So Zimbabwe won by 23 runs. Key point from that is, as we know, Australia can't play spin, and the Zimbabwe spinners span them out basically. I do think Australia have got slightly their selection wrong. I know that Mitchell Marsh, their captain, has got an unfortunate groin injury, shall we say, where he's got some internal bleeding and he's out. So there are batsmen like Tim David came in today, he got a duck. But leaving out Steve Smith, your most informed batsman at the moment, back at home, I can't understand that decision at all. They have to play him. He's miles better than Josh English. Can you imagine Steve Smith and Travis Head opening up, and Mitchell Marsh at 3? It'd scare you, but they don't have Steve Smith. And obviously Hazelwood's out. There's no Cummins either. So Australia have got a massive game now on Monday against Sri Lanka, where basically they need to win. If they lose, they're essentially out. In the week, you obviously had Netherlands beat Namibia by 7 wickets. Pakistan beat the USA by 32 runs. New Zealand beat the UAE by 10 wickets. They chased 173 down very comfortably. Finn Allen got 80 odd. Tim Seifert got 80 odd not out. They've been impressive, those two. New Zealand are 2 from 2. They look good. They've got all bases covered, although I'm a little bit sceptical later in the tournament have they got spin options, although Santa's decent, obviously. South Africa versus Afghanistan, we'll talk about. Wow, what a game that was on Wednesday morning, I believe now. So Afghanistan made 187 and game went to a super over. In a super over, it was 23. Afghanistan batted first and got 23, and then South Africa had to bat, and they got a 6 off the last ball. Tristan Stubbs basically tied the game. So they went into another super over, and they needed 25 or 26. South Africa batted again, and Afghanistan needed 24 4 balls, so 4 sixes. Maharaj was bowling the other end. 6, 6, 6. Panic stations from the Saffers. Could they happen again? But no, unfortunately, he got one right. Well, after bowling wide as well, so only needed 4 to get another super over, actually. He bowled one outside off stump and he slapped it to extra cover where he caught it again. So South Africa squeezed through there to win. India beat Namibia by 93 runs as well in the week. And at that game, you had Kishan, the opener, left-handed bat. He hit 4 sixes in a row, which was brilliant watching. And another thing was Erasmus bowling a ridiculously wide round arm ball that everyone looked at. I think the Indian batsman at the time was very confused. So India won. And then Italy played Nepal yesterday. Nepal made 120 odd all out, and Italy, the two brothers, they won by 10 wickets. So that's fantastic to see Italy winning there. The game most concerned about for Luca I was the England versus West Indies game on Wednesday afternoon. So the Windies made 196 for 6 off their 20 overs. They took apart again Jofra Archer, who's becoming a bit of a concern for me. Is bowling just all over the place at the moment. Rashid was fantastic, took his 400th T20 wicket. But 196 for 6 in Mumbai didn't look too bad. Looked probably just above par, and he fancied England to chase that down. Rutherford made 76 off 42, and Holder at the end slapped 33 off 17. But as I said, when England went into bat, yeah, Salt and Butler, top of the order. Salt took apart Holder in the first over, took 20 off, looking brilliant, 33 off 15, got himself out, and then England got way behind the rate and couldn't catch up. No one took responsibility in that middle order. Bethel got in, and the spinners reduced the run rate, took wickets at vital times, and England were bowled out for 166 to lose by 30 runs. Sam Curran got 40 odd not out to the end. He is a useful cricketer. Some people don't like him, but he obviously won the first game for England on Sunday against Nepal, but couldn't get them over the line. I do think England need to make a change in the middle order. Tom Banton, I don't know what he's doing batting at 4. He's an opening bat keeper. Get another left-hander in there. Get Ben Duckett sitting on the sidelines. England do need a left-hander in the middle of the order, even so they have Bethel and Curran. But left-handers are showing that this is the way to go in T20 cricket. The matchups prove it. So yeah, England now are going to have to win their next 2 games. They've got Scotland tomorrow, so a double header in the international sport for England. Scotland tomorrow. England play Scotland tomorrow, and they play Italy on Monday. So yeah, the T20 World Cup continues, and at the moment you have Canada versus UAE, and you've got Netherlands versus United States of America at the moment. And then on Saturday, which is tomorrow, You have Ireland versus Oman. So Ireland will actually be without their captain Paul Sterling, who has a knee ligament injury. He suffered that in the field, so he is out. He will be replaced by Sam Topping. So Ireland will play Oman tomorrow. We also have, to bring up the fixtures there for you, after Ireland, obviously England's got 9:30 tomorrow, and then the big game tomorrow afternoon is New Zealand South Africa, and then on Sunday you have Nepal versus West Indies at 5:30, Namibia versus USA at 9:30, and then the biggest game of the tournament, the biggest game in international cricket, from Colombo, which is great. It's going ahead 1:30 UK time, 7 o'clock local time in Colombo's India versus Pakistan. What an atmosphere that will be, Sunday at 1:30. So can't wait for that game, and England will need to beat Scotland tomorrow in the cricket. Into other sports, we have a bit of darts. Last night it was the second weekly event of the Premier League from Antwerp in Belgium. The two Lukes played, Littler versus Humphreys. In the first game of the evening, Humphreys was 4-1 up, and he managed to lose that. Littler came back to win 6-5. Humphreys missed so many darts at doubles. He should have won that, Humphreys. He was annoyed, obviously. So Littler won that. The standard wasn't amazing. Van Gerwen beat Littler in the semi-finals. And Johnny Clayton, came back to beat Bunting in the first round as well. So the final ended up with Michael Van Gerwen versus Gerwin Price. And Gerwin Price came out winner that 6-3. So the next week is in Glasgow next Thursday. There's no darts on this weekend. And it's Littler versus Van Gerwen as the standout first game in one of the quarterfinals, as they say. Some horse racing. We have a couple of good races at Ascot tomorrow. We have the Betfair Ascot Chase, and we have my old favourite, John Bon, with Nico de Boinville and Nicky Henderson is up against the Nichols horse of Pic Dory tomorrow. He's 8-15. Pic Dory is 2-1. 3:35. Edwin Stowe is the old horse in that race. That's tomorrow. We have a bit of Gowran Park tomorrow as well. We've got a couple of graded races at Gowran Park tomorrow. And then on Sunday in Ireland, we have Punchestown. We have a Grand National Trial over in Punchestown on Sunday. Bit of other racing news. Obviously, 3.5 weeks now to Cheltenham. 4 weeks today, we have the Gold Cup. So the Gold Cup market is looking at Factor File, Gaelic Warrior, Django DeBay, the Jukebox Man. So we'll see where Factor File and Gaelic Warrior turn up, because they're also top of the betting for the Ryanair chase on Thursday. And I think it's Patrick Mullins has come out this morning and said who would he want to ride in a Gold Cup? Gaelic Warrior. Ruby Walsh said last week as well who would he want to ride in the Gold Cup, and also said Gaelic Warrior. So let's see where they pitch Gaelic Warrior, either in the Gold Cup or in the Ryanair on the Thursday. I'd imagine I'll go for the Gold Cup, and it'll be fun to see who rides Gaelic Warrior. But we'll see. The one big thing is from Cheltenham, please, can we have some going readings or some what the pedometer reading is at Cheltenham? It's 3.5 weeks to go to, and we have no idea what the going is. Why can't we have an update every 2 or 3 days from the Clerk of the Course? All we hear from the Clerk of the Course at the moment is they've fixed the drains. That was the issue the last time out, when they had to stop the racing for half an hour and finished in the dark, and they've gladly fixed it. Well done, lads. But why can't we have a going reading, please, from Cheltenham? We're so far behind what's going on in other countries with going stick and readings in this country. It's ridiculous why it's not readily available. But anyway, it won't change. The BHA are so far behind any other organisation. It does wind myself up and other fellow horse racing fans. So that's the horse racing this week. Bit of boxing news. this week we've got some announcements. We've got Wilder versus Chisora on the 4th of April. They're fighting. Daniel Dubois is made a fight against Fabio Wardley, which is on May the 9th. The venue is still to be confirmed. And then Tyson Fury is making his, I believe it's third comeback, and he is fighting Makhmudov on the 11th of April, and that has been announced to be at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday 11th of April. So a couple of decent heavyweight fights. Heavyweight for me is always a way to watch boxing, knockouts, and yeah, Fury obviously a warm up, hopefully to fight later in the year, and we'll see who he fights, because obviously the sad news about Anthony Joshua and his friends who sadly passed away in the car crash at the beginning of January. He's back in the gym, Joshua, yet to be asked whether he'll come back. I think they're going to give him, quite rightly, the amount of time he needs to get his head right. Obviously, it's a major shock to him and very sad for himself and his family and his friends about the tragic events of the car crash in Nigeria. So hopefully he's all right in his headspace, and we'll see what happens later in the year with Anthony Joshua and any potential fights. We don't know. Other sporting news this week is the Formula One. It's the third and final day's testing in Bahrain for the new season that starts in Melbourne in 3 or 4 weeks' time. There's been an awful lot of noise of what these cars are going to be like. First of all, we had on Wednesday Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time champion of the world, coming out in the media after driving in the morning for Ferrari and saying you need a degree to understand these new regulations and how to drive the car. And then yesterday you had the 4-time champion Max Verstappen coming out saying these cars are Formula E on steroids. I want to drive flat out. I don't care about top speed. I'm having to brake. I'm having to go down, shift down gears to get the battery packed up again. It sounds like they've made a complete and utter farce of these new regulations, where it's now just become a joke of a sport where the drivers want to drive flat out, but they can't drive flat out because that's not the way how to drive it now. And yeah, it's going to be a mess. No one really knows what's going on. The drivers don't know what's going on. You're going to have some very weird timings and very weird races where they're coasting into corners and then accelerating. They've even said on the last corner coming into the straight for the qualifying, they're going to basically be braking to regenerate the battery, so when they can actually put the foot down, they can get more speed, top end speed. So they're not driving flat out. It doesn't make sense. I'm not really, obviously, technically knowledgeable about it, but reading about it, when you've got two of the all-time greats in Hamilton and Verstappen, who will go down as an all-time great, Verstappen, saying it's a farce, it's not good for the sport. You're trying to turn people onto sport, and you're turning people away. It looks like they've got these regulations massively, massively wrong. But anyway, we'll see. The proof in the pudding will be the first race, couple of races from obviously Australia. But there's 1 day left today testing, and next week you've got another 3 days, or is it next week or the week after? I'm not sure. But anyway, Luke is back, so enough of me boring. He can talk. Luke, I've just gone through the cricket, the darts, the horse racing, the boxing, and the F1. If you want to talk about anything else far away,
podcast, James.
yeah, first time. So please don't criticise me. Well, I don't mind criticism. Doing podcasts is all about criticism as well. So yeah,
apologies. My computer
apologies,
just decided it just wanted to stop. But anyway, so a couple of other stories. One that caught my eye on Super Bowl weekend last week was actually the NFL, and obviously have to be a little bit careful in terms of what we say. But there's a player who plays for Atlanta called James Pierce. He's an edge rusher, and he came out of college with a questionable reputation in terms of his temperament, and he was arrested last week. It ended up playing out in the public, involved him ramming his car multiple times into the car that was driven by his girlfriend, who is Rukia Jackson, who plays in the women's NBA. So it sounds like he is going to be in a whole world of trouble. And, whilst a very talented player, clearly a very troubled young man. But that's one of the bigger stories sort of going around in the NFL at the moment. NBA, obviously All-Star Weekend tends to be used to be a bit more fun than it is at the moment. Obviously, you have events like 3-point contests and things like that. And then the other sport is Winter Olympics. So Great Britain, a magnificent 0 medals won so far.
Yeah, they've won absolutely nothing, have they? And the two ice skaters who were ranked number 1 in the world, she unfortunately made an error very early on in their routine. It sounds like I didn't watch it, and that was the end of their chances. So, yeah, no medals so far. I did flick over last night after the football would finish and the rugby league would finish on BBC Two, and they were doing the shorts speed skating, the 500 metres and 1,000 metres. It's brutal. There's 5 of them go round at 40 k's an hour for whatever it is. I think the 1,000 metres they do in 1 minute 48 or something like that. Just under 2 minutes. And it's all literally elbows out, fingers out, blades out. It's carnage. It can be carnage. They're quite, going 40 k's, 30 miles an hour around there. Must be something to watch live actually in the event.
Well, I think Jake Paul's girlfriend, fiance, she obviously won a gold medal earlier in the week, which generated a lot of media attention. I think from a GB perspective, I think we've got a guy called Matt Weston in the skeleton. So he had a very good first run. Looks to be in very good shape. So it would be very disappointing, I think, if he doesn't pick up a medal. I mean, there are
he's
a
a
couple
world
of
number
others.
1, isn't he? I was reading about it earlier.
Yeah, and then obviously you get people like that Mia Brooks who came fourth. She's up for another competition, snowboarding. Same with that Kirsty Muir in skiing. So there are a few chances, and then obviously you've got the curling. The men's curling team's always pretty good as well. So it'd be a surprise if they don't end up with any medals. I mean, it could yet be, a few. I think what was interesting is, so the most they've ever got in a Winter Olympics is 5, which they did at Sochi, and then they did in Pyeongchang a few years ago. So they'll do well to get to 5 now, but they shouldn't be too far away, I think, all said and done.
Yep, that continues from Italy, doesn't it? There's nothing much more about the Winter Olympics. I found the golfer, sorry, for everyone who was shouting probably at me listening to it. It's not Webb Simpson. It was actually Brandt Snedeker in 2015. That's 11 years ago. Wow. So he was the one who actually,
Probably why I can't remember it.
Yeah. So 2000 and 2015 he won it. And he was saying that Jordan won it. Yeah, Jordan won it in 2000 and in 17. So Snedeker won it 2 out of 5 years. Won it 2013. So yeah. But yeah, I do remember that when it was ridiculously windy and he just shot level par and everyone else was blown up kind of thing, yeah.
So you've got the cricket all covered, James?
Yeah, briefly went through the cricket. So obviously you got 2 really good games. I know we're jumping back now, but New Zealand obviously play South Africa tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 as well. So that'll be 2 informed teams kind of thing that, as I said, South Africa winning that Afghanistan second super over was big for them because they could have easily gone out if they lost to New Zealand tomorrow. And then obviously you got the biggest game in India versus Pakistan, which India are very short actually. I'm not sure we want to be taking on India. I know that they're in form, but these types of games, when there's so much pressure on from both sides, can do.
Well, I think the other thing you see with T20 cricket, I was talking to someone about this earlier in the week, and what you tend to find is single individual performances have a bigger impact on T20. So it only takes one batsman to score a 70 or 80, or one bowler to take 3 or 4 wickets, produce something pretty special to massively change that match. So if you think about ODIs, it one player scoring 100 in itself, whilst incredibly helpful, it often isn't as impactful.
Yeah, it just you can have one player that goes ballistic, and they get 80 off 30 or something like that, and change the game at a vital time as well. So you sometimes see it when the team's 2 or 3 down, and a guy comes in or is already in and goes crazy, and the momentum changes, and then teams start to panic. Fielding captain does stupid things. Bowlers start bowling wides or no balls or full tosses, and suddenly they get up to a respectable score. So yeah, one thing about takeaway which I forgot to mention actually, there hasn't been 100 yet, and there hasn't really been any massive scores either. I know a couple of teams have got
There's a
200
couple
plus,
of,
but
no one's even got to 90. So there's been a couple of 80s. There's
yeah,
been
the
lots
New
of
Zealand
60s,
has.
70s, but there hasn't been much. One thing it does appear to be the way is that keeping wickets, not losing early wickets, makes such a big difference. You saw with Australia today is when and it was the same with England against West Indies, is if you lose 3, 4 wickets early on, when you're chasing in those middle overs, it's so easy to go from 4 down to 6 or 7 down with new batsmen coming in, and it's game over pretty much straight away. Whereas if you're able to keep those wickets in hand a little bit, it just makes life that bit easier.
Yeah, and these pitches are playing. I do wonder how much you can, as a fan and a prospective punter, if you fancied a nib or a fat on it, whether you know what the pitch is. Either is it a new pitch? Has it been used before? How many games has it been used before? Where it is on the square? Is there shorter boundaries, aside, etc.? That's not readily available, and it should be really.
It should be, James, but there will be people who know that information.
Yeah, because the England
That's
West Indies
that's
game.
the reality of the betting world.
Yeah, the England West Indies game, you wouldn't know, and you only know on when it's the toss half an hour before the game, where the pitch is, and then they tell you after a brand new pitch has been used. Well, obviously, then it's going to be a better batting wicket than third or fourth time that pitch has been used, and spinner's going to come into it. Although spin is playing a huge part in the game, obviously, because that's where it is in subcontinent, and certain teams can't play spin.
Well, England,
Or and Australia. So I briefly mentioned, I don't know if you heard, I said that Tom Banton shouldn't be playing in this team. Ben Duckett should be playing at 4. Harry Brook's got to get up in the top 4. He can't be hanging around at 5. Get in the top 4 and dominate the game. Face as many balls as you can. Stop hanging around at 5. Get in. Top of the order.
well, what you've seen a couple of times with Brook is that when you are that low, it ends up putting you end up putting yourself under so much pressure because there may not be a lot else left after you. You want the likes of Butler, Brook to have a freedom where they can just keep going, tee off. You don't always get that when you're slightly lower down.
Yeah, and Tom Banton's not a number 4 for anyone. Don't care what people think of him. Get Duckett and get another left-hander in. India have proved that's
Yeah,
the way to go.
but yeah. So I mean, obviously, when we decided to do this podcast, you know, one of the things is just there's always so much sport on that we're sort of following and for people to enjoy. So it's not just football and the FA Cup. Just this weekend alone, if you think all the golf, Six Nations, T20 World Cup cricket, it just barely touches the surface. Winter Olympics, it's just great as a sports fan.
Yeah, it's just pick and choose. Even last night there was way too much on. There was like 3 or 4 things you wanted to watch at the same time. Right?
Well,
We're fortunate.
The darts was good in that it was an hour earlier.
Yeah. Fortunate what we do is our jobs as well outside of this is well we can watch a lot of this sport and keep up to date with it throughout the whole day kind of thing. So we are fortunate in that regard. But we think we have enough knowledge and understanding of the sports that we're talking about. But yeah, again, any questions, we'll happily answer, or try and answer to the best of our ability anyway.
Brilliant. Well, speak to you on Monday, James.
Yeah, speak to you on Monday, everyone. Have a good weekend.